poems in hard copy. She would like to have a copy. There is a red folder over there under the card for her. She would like to have those so that she can sort of virtually take part in this reading tonight.
Now, if you had said that before I left San Antonio, I'd have brought a copy.
Well, actually, it was kind of known, but not very much. No, and we didn't know that you would come, but I'm very glad you are here.
Nobody
Thank
knows.
you. Thank you, Phillip, for coming. Thank you very much.
We could also
Nobody knows
well,
I'm staying,
you could possibly email it to her, but at any rate, this is what her request was, and since I have some sense of what she is going through right now, because my husband, who is over there, had this whole terrible procedure 5 years ago, and at the time I wrote a poem about that, and it was called Prayers for Recovery, and I read those mainly as an introduction to her not being here. The surgery was imminent, the outcome apprehension-laden. 4 hours spinal bone extraction, rods and screws to fuse the spine. Routine, the surgeon called it, one of thousands he had done. The worried calls came from down under, Asia, Europe, far-flung family and local friends. The calls brought word of prayer, a month-long puja by the knees. You are in our thoughts from many people, God invoked by Hindus, Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, Jews. The surgery went well. The surgeon pleased not only with his handiwork, but with the patient's healing and resolve. He did not know how many prayers had hovered over instruments and hands, and that God answered all those prayers in many languages and faith. And that was with respect to Nancy. And then you might remember Nathan Brown was here last time, and I bought his book Karma Crisis, because I love the title. And I flipped through it, and early on there was a poem where apparently he had had some kind of surgery of some kind, I don't know what, but also with heavy doses of chemistry. And so I thought, she will go through that, she will know. So I thought I want to read this as part of this introduction. Pharmacology report. When we are forced into stillness by the invisible straps and feathers of a loved one's eyes because they love us, and because we probably should remain still since the nerves strongly suggested it, we usually wind up on the couch in the middle of the house. I wish John would hear this, because he will relate to that in about a week. We usually wind up on the couch in the middle of the house, there with the television and in good proximity to the kitchen, where we are also in plain view in case we try to escape. And once there, after a boring while, we begin to see all the cool projects we had in mind for years now, for fixing things up around this pit. And with this peculiar side effect of surgery comes the key benefit of the fantabulous drugs they send home with us, besides, of course, killing the synapse-melting pain in the cut. And that is that within about 15 minutes we stop thinking about drills, nails, and paint colors, and begin simply shaping the syllables of words like hydrocodone. Sometimes just howling softly, that middle one. Oh, like a lone Arctic wolf in the frozen air of the midnight tundra. You need to give this to Nancy. She will appreciate that right now. And you will appreciate it very quickly next week, that particular poem by Nathan Brown. But we came here not to hear this. This was just introduction to Nancy. We came here to have a wonderful featured speaker who is sort of a hidden gem of Austin, because as a Latina poet, she is not necessarily making the rounds to all the poetry readings and this and that. I'm sure she has her circles, but a lot of us have a hard time hearing her. And occasionally, when you do, you have a treat. Gloria Amescua is actually an Austinite, so she is not one who just jumped over the border or something like that. Well, some people always think that when you are Latino or Latina, you just stepped over the border yesterday, and I mean that's not the case. Anyway, she is an inaugural member of the Latino poetry community called Canto Mundo, and she has actually a master's degree from the University of Texas in Austin, and she serves as workshop presenter for youth and adults, and in 2011 was a resident poet at Hedgebrook's Writer in Resident program in Washington, upstate Washington, that is. Washington State. Her poetry it can be found in a chapbook called Wind Chimes, and she has been published in a number of journals. And not only that, she took top honors in the Austin Poetry Society and in the Austin International Poetry Festival. So she was really up there, because to get that super top prize is not easy. So here you are, having a wonderful treat coming to you. Gloria, it's yours. And for those who came in later and would like to read, please put your name on this. Also, there is a card for Nancy to sign, please. And if you have a hard copy of whatever you are planning to read, give a hard copy for that red folder. Nancy wanted some of these poems.
And the theme and dark.
Yeah, and there is a little basket that you need to fill out a little slip of paper with your name and a theme for next month. And if you win, if we by magic pull out your name, there is a door prize sitting here that Nancy prepared before she went to law school. So,
thank you so much. I mean, that's such a wonderful introduction. I was like, oh my, pressure's on.
No pressure. You see, this is a friendly crowd.
Yeah. I have been writing all my life, writing poetry since I was a kid, and there have been a lot of dry spells, but in the last, I'd say 15 years, I've been really working at my writing. This is called Ignite the Dark, and the epigraph is "The stars know everything," from Charles Simic. The stars know everything. The way your hair will curl in the rain, which apples will fall to rot, the last jaguar's low growl, the stardust swirls of your fingertips, lifeline crawling across your palm. The way the rain will blow, who will love you, who will not, the empty chamber of your heart. And if we believe that this is true, why lie awake in the dark? The next two poems are paired poems, but I wrote them years apart. House for sale. With a garden spade, I dig into the loam of a silenced yard. The lawn not mown for months. A random shoot appears where Mom and Dad had planted the wisteria. Every spring, arching lilac blooms drape their sweet perfume over a languishing tree. Winding vines, strengthening or weakening supporting limbs, I don't know which. I clang the spade again and again. Surprisingly, the sprout's twisted roots cling thick and deep. Tenacious and strong, I struggle to break the tortuous roots apart, to plant the vine anew in my own backyard. Though the soil resists the loosening, nothing is resistant to the spade's art. And this I wrote years later. Shifting ground. It's been 6 years since I planted the wisteria. It has yet to bloom. 7 since the volunteer sprouted. I keep waiting for lacy lavender blossoms as year by year, fern-like branches unroll an umbrella of green. Vine tendrils twined skyward droop from their own weight. The parent plant arch a lilac cloud, would spend hours trimming limbs that strayed too far, even at dusk, watering the burgeoning landscape. Each spring, I search for buds on the transplant, which only seeks support for its spreading green. Lacking a trellis, a branch wraps the limb of a dying tree nearby. I'm no good at crafting, though my father taught me to use hammer and nail. Lilac waits for a scaffold I've yet to build. This is called Blackbirds in Drought. This is the AIPF. It's in that anthology. Suddenly, blackbirds in drought. Suddenly, blackbirds swirl and land on cut grass. 60 or 100, the bird bath greened in blue-black fringe. Away from the glass barrier, I make a slight, noiseless movement, and the iridescent, flickering carpet whirls as one away into the blue stream. A pattern of dark lace disappears. 2 or 3 return to the water, and like fish, glitter away in moments. Now a lone squirrel hops on the fence in slant light, an inescapable forward movement. Dinosaurs, birds, mammals, humans. Perhaps not even a black feather will remain. I promise I'm getting to this.
Thank you so much. I hope you all agree that yes, we were in for a treat and we didn't even know it. Since you both came in later, were you planning to read? Or you,
No, just,
She's my cousin. She's,
oh, okay. Well,
she's here supporting me.
but I'll sign the
car. The car is over there.
the sign-in sheet?
No, yeah, the sign. This is only if you want to read.
Oh, okay. No,
Otherwise, you can send a little.
Yeah,
You
I
can
did.
send a little note to Nancy, who is normally hosting here.
Yes.
Since she's in the hospital, so
Yeah.
you can send her a little bit on that greeting card. And otherwise, if you can come up with a wonderful theme that we should write poems about for next month, you're welcome to fill out one of those white little pieces of paper, put your name on it, the theme, put your name on it, fold it up and stick it in, and so we will have a little auction. And whoever wins it gets this book.
Okay.
No, you don't.
Oops.
Just an idle threat.
Even though Nancy sent me her, what she calls fresh ink, I will not start with that. I will use that at the end as she would have done had she been the host. So let's start with the open reading. And the first person who put his name bravely here at number 1 is Phillip. Phillip Abbott. So,
Well, thank you for that warm and dynamic welcome.
Yes.
I'm here by mistake. I didn't have anything else to do tonight.
that was a good mistake, though.
Could be. The other mistake is that I have a poem that was slightly relevant for tonight, but it's in the other book.
Oh.
And you could actually consider yourself lucky because it's 2.5 pages long.
Oh, okay.
This one is totally irrelevant and a lot shorter.
Irrelevant in the sense that the theme for tonight was late summer.
Oh.
So, but we don't always write to the theme. So, but the theme for tonight was late summer. So, if you brought a poem in that direction, great.
This is called Pin the Tail, for reasons which will probably become clear by the end of the poem. There's a maniac inside you. At least there had better be. After all, what else does it take to write poetry? Now get out there and read. Learn from the masters. See what they say, see how they say it, and when you have, you will know frustration. Yours. Insanity. Possibly, not necessarily your own. Ego. Lots of egos, some bigger even than yours. And desperation when you realize that you have been chasing a wraith. It is a class 5 wraith, 3d20. Excuse me, I'm just falling over. That's not part of the script. It's a class 5 wraith, 3d20, with plate mail armor, +7. Infinite saving throws, +3 to hit, +3 to damage, and a special feature. When you look directly at it, it's not there. Now, armed with the wisdom acquired in your search, your mission, which you have already accepted, is to reach inside yourself. Because now you know there is no help outside. All good poems are different. There is no pattern to learn. And even if there were, you couldn't use it. That would, after all, be cliché. Now, if you're still here, you may have the ego it takes. So, harness your frustration. Other emotions are acceptable. Think the unthinkable. Say the unsayable, scrut the inscrutable, and wear padded underwear. Because the next time somebody pins the tail on the maniac, it might be you. And I don't know what else to read.
You don't have to.
That's good then.
I like it. Robin, you were the next.
Yes, thank you.
Robin Barratt.
Christa, my first poem is really tiny, short. May I read more than one quickly?
Yeah, I mean, 2 is okay. I mean, I don't think we are held to 1, but we shouldn't make it another featured reading.
Oh, don't worry. I don't have them. Okay. This was from Harriet's group, which is a workshop that meets at Strange Brew every Wednesday from 1 to 3. And Strange Brew is a place on Menchaca in far South Austin. So this was an exercise I was stealing from Gerard Manley Hopkins, which, anyway, the quotation to begin it was, "Cloud under cloud, with a gray stroke underneath. Hot blue day, but there's a gray lake under each cloud under cloud. That is, if there were more than one cloud on a late summer day in Austin. If there were many cloud lakes, we could build a rainstorm out of their shadows, with strokes of lightning underneath. We could be shadow dancers, rain dancers, showmen. But for now we remain under a tent to block the shadowless sun." And that's that, Robin. And let's see if we'll do this. Okay. Late summer. If the poem reflects the sun, if it reflects the sun, only does so in shadow. The poem, if it reflects the rain, only does so in our hearts. Today I reflect on the sea, even though we are inland. Wisdom says a hurricane in the Gulf may bring downpours to Austin. Is there somewhere light without heat? Perhaps in the smile of a child or lover. But of course there is heat too in the expressions of those we love. Williams wrote, the heat will not overtake the light. I'm tempted to end with a joke and say, well, he didn't live in Texas. But I will go on. Lightness lives in the lightning and rain. There is a light in the heartbeat of our hearts let me try this again. Lightness lives in the lightning and rain. There is a light in the heartbeat of our hearts as we look at a season which is changing, even though we don't notice it yet. Thank you.
Louise, you are next.
Every little breeze seems to whisper Louise. The birds in the trees.
Oh, there it is. Yes, I bring Jack along to do my theme song. I used to live in South Austin, and just as I was leaving there and moving to North Austin, they started gentrifying it, and I lived near South Congress, which they now call SoCo.
Oh,
So very
really?
trendy, SoCo. with us last month. Summer in SoCo. And by the way, it's been a wonderful August so far. It's really been very cool in the mornings, thankfully. Chill still is a morning in July. Bake is each afternoon in August. Texas summer radiates from every surface as I walk toward dusk in that soup of yellow air. Aromas heightened for the better and for the worse. Tortillas infusing the consciousness of my opened nostrils. Western sunlight penetrating buildings, trees, and passers-by. I battle uphill on the SoCo slant, bound for tacos and cool shade, hoping darkness will relieve, that iced tea with lemon will quench. While sun shots pop through leaves of sycamore, pecan, and live oak. Outside an Austin restaurant window, when air conditioning envelops me, steam rises from the fresh enchiladas suizas with Spanish rice and refried beans, and I am content at last to fill belly and soul with the warmth of Tex-Mex bliss.
Yeah.
It's fun for them to be in the shape of a bell. Perhaps a Taco Bell.
Now we have Magic Jack and Thom, or Thom and Magic Jack, or vice versa, or both together. I'm not quite sure. So please, whatever.
That covers it.
That was meant to confuse you.
Oh, I knew. That's why I'm acting confused too.
For us.
I think it will be Thom, and then,
Okay,
but
whatever.
I will accompany Thom.
Oh, okay.
I'm requesting Thom. Seems like it's extravagant. So I never know what Tom's going to do, so I have to read his body language. Right, so I need to do it on a slight angle. So
We can.
okay, here we go.
Summer, I wanted to write you a letter, but I didn't know what, because soon you'll be disappearing down September. And after that, C for cool, chill mornings when the dawning finds a fog with something on the lawn. What's that? Looks like moisture. S for summer sweat, sadness and depression. There they go again. All the heat is on. Ferguson, Gaza Strip bombing civilians. Summer on the street. Feel the heat. May be late, but we are coming into it. Oh, the emotional climate and the topography says to me this is not just Texas City. Trap the heat inside the concrete poetry. People always go down to the creek, dive into the drought of the riverbed, stone hearts. Hard summer. S for farewells. Sweat. Bye bye summer. Fare thee well. Adios. I'll see you when autumn comes and goes. And for Nancy, years ago, Nancy said, "What will I do?" I said, "Well, where you are, that's where it must start." That was 7 years ago almost. And she made this happen. And it's been an amazing journey, but this is for her. There are poets made of words that you cannot trust. You look at them and their actions go a different distance. But some of them combine the script and the action like a perfect actor or audience. She is one of those. You can trust her words. It'll end up as actions. And all you've heard is praise for her persistence, her bravery and her sensitivity. She does not flaunt it, like saying, "Oh, poor me, I'm a victim of the world." No, she says, "I will cast my flowers into words. I will pour them into rhyme and share them in our time, because what else can we do in this garden life?" Now, she's with us in spirit, of course, and her words are on the table and she wants to read yours.
She wants to know that this flower glows. So these words will go to her room 414 at the rehab center. St. David's Center, go visit her. Perfect pure.
This is to the theme tonight, and it's really short and sweet. I thought I would really miss the water and waves, and I guess I do. I thought I'd miss the sand between my toes. Yes, hot sand too. I thought I'd miss the smell of suntan lotions and shapely bodies bared. But mostly I find what I truly miss most is the smell of the salt sea air. Because I'm a Rhode Island boy.
You are, baby.
And this is really not too long either, because that was a short piece of music. But this is called A Prayer, and this is dedicated to Nancy, who's not here with us, obviously. It's nothing more than a deeply felt wish, or a sincere expression of gratitude. It can come in many forms. It can be simple and short. It can be long and chanted. It can be a song, and yes, it can be a poem. A prayer is the wish that comes from below the tongue. A prayer is the deepest wish that comes from our loving heart. A prayer is how we feel in our very soul. Be not afraid of prayer. It has done much to heal and mend. We may call on our Creator. Our deities have many names. Religions can come and go. We may have aversions to structure and organization, of beliefs and the naming of gods and saviors. We may avoid every church, every priest, every religion, and yet, when we need the power of healing, we yearn to come forth with the balm and the prescription. When all remedies have been explored and there is nothing left for us to do other than I say, let us pray.
Hey, yeah.
John.
Hey.
Whoa.
Yeah, John, you're done.
That's why we don't sit in those. They're comfortable to get in, but not to get out.
That's heavy.
Well, I had the pleasure of spending a week in Alpine learning about poetry from Scott Wigerman. It was just a really wonderful thing. One of our assignments was he handed out these little slips of paper. Each one had the first line, the opening line of a novel. And I've forgotten what my first line was, but this was the poem that came out of it. I'll only give you a clue that it had a camel in the first line. Only one hump? I explicitly ordered one with two. Madam, this is all we have. Besides, this is a choice one owner. His entreaty sounded vaguely familiar, thinking to myself, yeah, I know, owned by a little old lady from Alexandria. How many miles did you say it has? Akbar bowed solicitously. It has been ridden only on gentle dunes and no city driving at all. I sniffed disapprovingly. Well, all right, but I'm warning you, this had better work out. Akbar's grimy turban bobbed up and down vigorously, his yellow teeth grinning from behind his tangled beard. You will not be disappointed, madam. May 1,000 dung beetles invade my tent if Akbar is wrong. And so it was that we set out for Cartouche, me, precariously perched on one camel hump when there should have been two.
MistyRose, it's your turn.
So I wrote this about Austin. I was in a charity where we would actually go to the underpasses, to the homeless, instead of them having to find us. So it's called MOPAC. Along setting miles, Missouri to Pacific, blood the same red shares each tick. Lice quilt tangles amid bedding bugs, knitted brows reject used up hugs. Absent shame hitches cannot wait, chasing one loop of any other fate. The sober tramp on the grapevine, still airing bitter stories on wine. A loner takes toll by an overpass, jostles for bread and exhausts gas. Handout hope is no hidden hunger, mental curfew clings to concrete bunker. Those lost off meds can act the worst, flying over an unstructured curse. Shadows pass out at the edge of alive, dreams drop deeper than a dumpster dive. Hooded eyes hide which dropped a line, dead end spells their direction sign. Idle rakes are jaded by a park route, bypasses by a permanent out. And this is called Sunday Sunshine. At the start of the day, ready for come what may, no computer or phone brings any work home. No clocks from 9 to 9, I can finally unwind. Sunday sunshine, and life is so fine. Tomorrow has time enough for all that other stuff. Bringing happy out of the basket. Remember when we met? Kids are splashing in the water, the coals are getting hotter. My honey's at hand, toes wiggling in the sand. Sunday sunshine, and life is so fine. Tomorrow is time enough for all that other stuff. No need to say please for this gentle breeze. A sweet scent not so rare shifts the smoke-filled air. Laughing, who knows why, in this ring of love's high. Sunday sunshine, and life is so fine. Tomorrow has time enough for all that other stuff. A taste of heaven, shared by man and woman. A day that sets values clear, holds what matters near. From soul to moving feet, feel the music, heartbeat. Sunday sunshine, and life is so fine. Tomorrow has time enough for all that other stuff. Sliding by time, sucking on a line, making this space mine. The weather is fine. Breathing sunbeams in my relaxed fit jeans. Sunday sunshine, life is so fine. Tomorrow is time enough for all that other stuff.
It's your turn.
There are a lot of things here to honor. Y'all, summer heat, Nancy, this building. I say that because I'm going to do a conglomerate, I hope, of all of them, and start this way. That it's the taking out from the inside that's so difficult. And it might be the heat. Maybe I don't want to get close to people. Maybe I don't want to cry in public because everybody's sweaty and steamy and hot and a little bit agitated. Maybe I have doubts that I'm really unwilling to share because I think if someone found them out or knew them, they'd think less of me. So who am I to think anything of myself but be some sort of fulcrum for an inside and an out, which would say, outside is a beautiful day, and I don't care how hot it is. Or our summer grass is dying and brown and needs water, but yet it has the essence of something grand. Summer's coming to a close. My schedule will change radically. I'll have to get to elementary school and then to junior high. And it all comes back around to I want to connect to everybody I see. I want to get down on my knees and say, thank you for being in this space with me. Thank you for sharing this time with me. Earlier today, I visualized myself on a river, and I think y'all can all picture you're on a river and you see the water beneath you. Something that I can stare at unendingly until maybe a fish swims by. It's a reoccurring motif in my mind that I am a fish and I can't breathe. I walk around my apartment saying I can't breathe, and perhaps it's the cigarettes, or perhaps I'm just out of breath. Or perhaps there's a little part of me that wants to dip off back into the water because somebody took them up and looked at them and said, this is a good thing. poem, like a painting, like everybody I've ever seen. And I agree, there are things, there are thoughts, there are little doubts. And I got them, and I think everybody's got them. And the trick is just to work through them, put them out there, let them go. Make some art of them. Give them the you or you or you and say, help. Help. Because I am as unknown as I've ever been. Yet, it's getting better. I feel I know who more I am about myself than I've ever known before because I've found out what I love and I do it as much as I can. The peace starts between me and this world. Fulcrum? Yeah, fulcrum. There's something in the back of your head, Scott, and it's trying to make its way out, and these people are saying it, and that's okay too. Don't be afraid to be afraid, because that's the only time it ever grows. Yggdrasil will not end with Ragnarok. There will come a time this fall when I think, and somebody can correct me, the strawberries will bloom their fall fruit, right? We have that coming upon us, right? No, or just
Strawberries, I don't know.
There'll be a harvest this autumn, and it'll be like nothing we've ever seen before, because all the poets will be there, and all the friends will be there, and we'll have said something we've never said before, and it's good to give there. Thank you.
So now you have to pretend I'm Nancy. She sent me 3 of her poems. I will read 2 right now and keep one for after the break. I was debating which one to read first, but when Jack was dreaming about Rhode Island, I thought I'll read you this one first because she's dreaming about Michigan in the summer. By the blue horizon, sweet, smooth blue horizon led my thoughts astray. One hope-filled glance at sunshine's dance on water makes me pray. Sweet, smooth blue horizon, lure me into dawn. The route you pave with each small wave, say softly, carry on. Sweet, smooth blue horizon, teach me to sing. Use this warm beach to hear me, reach. You are my everything. This she wrote about 3 days, about not even a week before she had to go to the hospital. And the other one obviously also speaks to her anxieties before going in. It's called Keeping the Faith. Expect whole words to come out, even when you can't speak. It's like being asked to be strong when feeling so weak. Expect your best to conquer all that seems to prevail. Shrug off everything that whispers, hey, you're gonna fail. Expect hope's rays to linger, dark clouds hide the sun, but they'll reap what you have eagerly sown when believing is done. With that, we have reached the midpoint of our event, and usually we have a break and there's all kinds of goodies next door. I don't know where the light switch is. Somebody has to
I haven't looked through it yet, you just gave it to me.
So,
But I will.
Can we all get set
I
up?
always look through what you give me. You put all that effort, I'm not gonna let it be wasted, Thom.
you're wonderful.
Okay, it's that effort.
Gloria! Gloria!
They got like an hour and a half for everything. Dressing.
Round 2.
Yes.
And of course, first up again is Gloria. Even though the next person on the list is somebody else, but Lisa said, I just remember the poem and I would like to.
All right, Lisa.
Allow her to come in.
AKA Liz.
Oh, you wrote it
No,
down.
I did.
That's what napkins are for.
This is my hard copy.
That's fresh.
You will love that.
I have a poem. It's just a 4-liner. It came to me a few days ago, but I didn't have a title. And this is about summer.
Mhm.
And it hit me. So that's where we got the title. So now we can read it. It's called Summer Love. A kiss hello, a kiss goodbye, happenings in between, What more was promised?
Yeah.
That's it.
Promise, yes.
So thank you for the title.
Phillip, you have another one?
I do.
Yes.
I suddenly remembered I have 3 poems all about late summer.
Oh yeah.
One's called Anticipation, the second one is Fulfillment, and the third, Departure. But I'll spare you. Would you want to? Yes. Anyway.
Late summers.
Anticipation. Afternoon sun warms tattered awning, drowsy air takes a siesta. I don't want to read this.
Is that a line of the poem?
No. I have a poem about reading poems and hating it. And it ends with looking so much like the sea, quite unaware that I am seasick. I'm describing the crowd as moving like the sea, you see, but I'm seasick.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll do the next one, Fulfillment. Time has brought them here, that and the dust on the road. The house waits patiently, painted the colour of the journey, shutters once green, wilt as the afternoon sun burns on. Clouds form as usual, menace from the horizon as usual, and promise no relief. A dog barks in protest. As tyres slow, crush stray dust and gravel, and the motorcycle dips to a halt, shaking slightly as the motor idles and dies. A long leg swings from the saddle, a promise of bronze before a hand calms the skirt against the thigh. The touch of wind calls fingers to linger on the taste of silk, but does little to ease the heat. Felt by daisy and bumblebee alike, drawn by the promise of nectar, the bee reaches deep inside each floret, leaving a dusting of pollen in its wake. The porch beckons. Its welcome offers a slight respite. She mounts the steps and stretches out on the swing. He follows, does not notice the bee rise from her duties to protest the intrusion. It settles in a chair and reaches out one foot to push the spindle. The swing creaks into motion. A cicada trills reply, her skirt swaying in time. She smiles at the slight movement of the air, a welcome relief from the sultry afternoon, and lifts a knee to drape the air across her thigh. The cicada falls silent as a gust blows humid across the porch. And they glance up to clouds towering overhead. An eyebrow meets an imperceptible nod. He reaches out a hand as she stands, her skirt falls into place, and she stretches, feet planted on the deck, arms straining for the clouds. His arm draws her close. She bends into him, and the door closes with a muted hiss. The door closes, and with a muted hiss, rain starts to fall. Sorry, I haven't read that for a while.
Yes. Blouse caught in my computer. It's one of those.
Worst things have happened.
Yes, it's true. It's true. Okay, this is called Green Trees of High Summer, and it's based on a painting, I think, where the tree trunk was a couple embracing, and it helps to know that. The green tree couple on top of a strawberry hill stand in front of a bakery display of palmiers, but they, the couple, look thin. In their embrace, they have forgotten that there are other forms of nurturance. Will they die of the starvation brought on by too much love rather than too little? Or will a few of their full blue leaves fall in a month or so and free their hands to grasp just one or two edible delights other than each other? Okay, thank you.
Do you have another?
Yes. Two short ones. One is to the theme, but the first one I wrote for Nancy this morning. Nancy. You keep the poetic flame burning, you, the keeper of culture and peace. Thanks for providing a welcomed retreat away from city bustle and noise. May you continue to be the shining light for all us wretched, wayward bards, scratching desperate verse in the night. And this is a simple one. Relief. On a breezy, perspiration chills my clothes on a breezy summer's day. The only relief I get from the sun. Then a blessed shower falls, beating on my upturned face, and I twirl and dance in the rain. Many centuries we have come, but it has remained forever thus. A simple sprinkle from the skies can still refresh and renew the soul.
Did you have the big show of Thom and Jack? Or Jack and Thom?
It's the
Or
big show.
Guitar and Jack and Thom. Barratt and Thom and whichever.
She asked me, have you heard since you visited? 10:30 this morning, 11:15, I think, no. Nancy, like all of us, is married to her beloved. You are married to your muse and the moon and your future. And every time you gather, it is always unique and different. No matter what words we choose, the invocation and the ritual will always find its own proportion, and dimensions shift as we all shift like quicksand shifts in the desert. And this little oasis, temporary sanctuary, what does she want from us? Not just to gather, but to send her flowers in terms of verse. Not just to have a video on YouTube, but maybe some photographs that we can share with her. For while she's there in that bed at St. David's, we know that she's listening in to every word you sing. And we know in the morning she will ask John, John, what did the poet say? Show me their words, and he will hand her the card. And the flowers by her bed will be your flowers. They'll be strewn petals of your best dreaming. And she will say, it was a beautiful evening. And that way she is with us now, and with us always. It's not like she's departed, but she's immobile, but still articulate. The bottom line is this: we're all married to the same moon and the same muse, and all of us have only 1/2 degree of separation. Our articulation may be different, but we sing the same song, same stream of consciousness. What we say is, Nancy, you matter to us. After all, you made this. Yeah.
I've been working on this piece for a couple of weeks now. It's an homage, I guess, to. It's been on my mind. I'm sure on everyone's mind. The kids at the border. It's just such a. It just brings out so much emotion in here. There's been so many things happening lately with people getting killed and blown out of the sky, and the Gaza thing, and the kids at the border, and it's hard to keep light and jovial with all of that going on, you know. So that's what motivated this song. It's called "Where's That Promised Land." Well, it would help if you could help me keep the beat, just a light. Thank you. Coming across that border, looking for some food and water, maybe. Oh, maybe. trapped behind closed locked doors, maybe. Refugee children are here and they're waiting in constant fear that maybe where's that mercy now? Where is that Jesus mercy now? Where is that mercy, please? These children on their knees praying. They don't need your scorn. Into poverty they were born. They don't need more hate. They need us to demonstrate some love, yeah. And I ask you now, where's that promised land? Oh, where's it for them? Where is that promised land? Where's the promised land for them? They flee from danger there, they're hoping for a life way. Oh, just maybe. Violence has ruled their lives, they deserve a chance to survive, and maybe, oh maybe. Where's that mercy now? Where is that Jesus mercy now? Where is that mercy, please? The children on their knees pray. They don't need no scorn. The children are torn apart. They don't need more hate. They need us to demonstrate some love, some love. Oh yeah. I ask you please, where is that promised land for them? Where's that promised land? Where's that promised land for them? Their families long to hear some word from their children here, and maybe hope of a better life, a life that's free from strife, and maybe, oh maybe, maybe, oh maybe, maybe, just maybe, some mercy. Very good, kids.
Amen.
That was very nice, Jack. Thank you. Wonderful guitar work. Wonderful guitar work.
Well, thank you. Coming from a musician.
Well, as one wayward bard to another, when I say that I am older than dirt, I'm serious, okay?
Really?
And I should be taken seriously because, by way of evidence, I offer my 4 great-grandchildren. Great-grandchildren.
Oh, okay.
So I got a call from my daughter the other day, and it turns out one of my great-grandchildren, Raiden, who lives in Atlanta, was taking his first trip to the zoo. Man, I wanted to be with him so badly.
Yeah.
So I wrote a poem so that Raiden could kind of go on a little virtual trip to the zoo with his great-granddad, who he calls Granddaddy. Raiden goes to the zoo. Raiden's great-granddad announced, a surprise, off to the zoo we shall go. it's time for my Raiden to feast his eyes on lions and tigers and Cape buffalo. You can search in the trees for koala bears dining, and among some rocks for a tortoise, while orangutans chatter and peacocks are whining, the panda dressed up to a tortoise. So what do you say, Raiden, old friend? Is this something you might like to do? And Raiden replied, it would please me no end to go to the zoo, just us two. So off they went, Granddad whistling off key, while Raiden held tight to his hand. Two adventurers off to safari land to see what they could see. The list is quite long of the stuff that they saw. There were pythons and venomous lizards, a giant ostrich too, and a big black macaw, and a bird eating foul-smelling gizzards. Ew! There were rhinos aplenty, maybe 15 or 20, and some crocodiles floating like logs, just waiting to snatch you. Please don't let them catch you. But the worst were the grunting wild hogs. There were giraffes with their long bony knees way up in the trees, monkeys swinging, elephants big as you please, and a chorus of geese gaily singing. In spite of the fun, Granddaddy needed a rest. So Raiden sat him down in the shade and scurried to find some ice cream, the best, Ben & Jerry's, as good as homemade. In spite of the fun, all in all, 'twas an outstanding day, and I'll tell you that it's truly true. Granddaddy loves Raiden more than he can say, especially when they're at the zoo.
MistyRose, you can follow that with someone.
A few very, very short ones. When I drove in yesterday afternoon, late last night, I said, oh, I gotta figure out what I've got that relates to summer. So I actually wrote one last night, because the last week of August every year is Burning Man. If you are familiar with what that is in the Nevada desert, which was like wannabe hippies started 20 years ago and going out there, they burn the effigy. Although now it costs $500 to allow you access to a porta potty and no more than 25 pounds, including your tent. So it's, I'm not sure how much it's, whether it's hypocritical or not. But anyway, this is called Free Burning Man. Attitude attains all altitudes, square root of lost set loose. Tower trice beyond trip, tipsy tunes from rift to rip. Rest in peace, rest in peace. Smoke, scents, and sagebrush, longing for human touch. Alienate the world's breach, broadcast the reach for peace. And then the second poem, as many of you know, I actually live north of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I know you have fracking down here like we do.
Yeah.
And we had more high level earthquakes in Oklahoma last year than California did. And the epicenter just happens to be where all the fracking happens to be.
Oh yeah.
So this is called
Coincidence.
Mal, which means evil. Mal cracks. An oil slick spiral to stumble at a field of dreams gate. Though texts of this tale would not consider the weight, heaven knows what would be drought and quick fate. Cracks in the ground defy the fracking infused below. The smoke in the air hazed over a laid bare show. It choked on arid sparks of incandescent glow. Fresh fished waters met a mile translation to murky mud. The thumper shifted each fault from a heartbeat's thud, and the sun fell like a ball of neon fire blood.
I often wonder, given these abilities we have that lend themselves to the arcane, you might say, conjuring men on stages, flowers, birds, trees, weddings, rocking, boats, a room full of imaginations, attentive and kind and generous. This magic that we have, our ability to craft images and proliferate them, which I should put a footnote on later, is not black magic, beyond green or white magic, but indeed it is magical. Our ability to offer an audience or a reader those spells in our mind, and I don't know about y'all, but when I write and when I speak, all I am is saying the sentences telling me what to do. Given that it's magical, that we can conjure at will this or that, is it enough that we do so strictly for entertainment? To bend our ear for 2 hours and visualize grand and bold and sometimes simple things? Or might it not be a better thing to conjure such magic that those outside of this room, in hospital beds, or in war zones, or in camps somewhere, see them with our mind's eye and offer them a bit of a nudge, a bit of a taste that says, yes, we are listening and we do care. I do not walk lightly into the poetry I write, and I do not walk lightly into the speeches I make, because it seems like my hands are grabbing themselves, that there is something between me and everything else. And while it would be easy to cut the rope and let fall both sides into utter chaos as far as I can tell, one keeps the tension in a writing and a point and pulling back and forth. I told my children that story. My son thought it would be best to talk the opponent out of playing at all. But when I sit down at my computer tonight, and I'm sure I will, at which point I'll try to post this about what all y'all done, I'll not be thinking about only us, but I'll be thinking about those innocent, unknown watchers. And to me, it's the mysterious you that watches everything, that sees something, that's in need, that wants, that cares, that demands, not by desire, but by my own inclination to help them. I think poetry is magic, but it is a selfless, arcane sort of magic that when practiced at its best really does help other people. Thank you.
Nancy's third poem that she had written in July, which was to the theme of late summer. She calls it Goodbye July, Hello Hot August. Summer took a while to simmer this year, but who can complain? Dry July is but a glimmer of late summer's dark days. Rain is only in the forecast for some days we've not yet seen. Cracked earth lets the dry wind scatter all its motes. Not much is green. Cattle call for hay bales. Water comes in trucks from far away. People pay the price for chilling air. They pay and pay and pay. So much summer could come later when it's needed, when we freeze, but no, Ma Nature's got us where she wants us, on our knees, begging God to show some mercy as he doles out lows and highs. Not much can be done about it, just some cool collective sighs. If you will indulge me, I will read one of my own.
Okay.
Sure. As a last poem, and then we have to dig into that little basket there. This is from a little chapbook that I published in 2011, I think, called Southern Seasons. And this, Actually, it was based on something that happened while we lived in Alabama. Here in Texas, we wouldn't have had this happening. Bumblebee defense, but I was reminded when Phillip mentioned something about the duty of the bee in one of your poems. Well, here is the bumblebee defense. I pulled some ivy off a wall, was greeted with a cloud of gnats, while tiny ants discovered scattered. But hovering, a bumblebee mistook my smelly yellow glove for food, I thought. Then came the sting. That's when another one attacked and buzzed incessantly at me. Had I invaded home or nest? I'll never know, yet I endured till all the ivy from the eaves lay on the ground. By now the beans were buzzing mad. One stung again, though this one paid the price. And then I wondered, was I not to them the brute intruder, tearing down their leafy home, their sting an act of violence in self-defense? Today the psalmist warned me not to join with men in wicked deeds, nor let my hands do harm. I freed the eaves of menace ivy, yet my hands committed evil deeds. Where was the justice for the bees?